I'm afraid we have bad news from the Ontario Court of Appeal. They have universally, 3 judges, have rejected an appeal by Trinity Western University to have the right to open a law school wherein their students at a fully accredited law school at Trinity Western would be able to graduate and practice law in Ontario. The Court of Appeal rejected that unanimously, saying that they side with gay activists who said the student conduct pledge at Trinity Western, which is based on Christian values, which is against gambling and swearing and sex outside traditional marriage, that is so discriminatory, even though students take it on voluntarily, they simply cannot permit those students to practice law in Ontario. This is a setback for freedom. Joining us now via Skype from Calgary is John Carpay, the president of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, who's been fighting as an intervener in this case. John, what can I say? It's an awful ruling. It's unanimous, but it doesn't surprise me a bit because judges are amongst the most politically correct people around, and being anti-Christian is perfectly fashionable. Being an extremist in terms of gay activism is very fashionable. I think this is a big setback for freedom.
It's a political cultural ruling. It is not in accordance with the law. It's not in accordance with what the Supreme Court of Canada ruled very clearly back in 2001 in a nearly identical case of the BC College of Teachers, that Trinity Western is private. It's a voluntary association. Nobody's compelled to join. It's not the government. It has freedom of religion, expression, association. That would be following the law, would be following what the Supreme Court of Canada already ruled in 2001 in a very similar case where the BC College of Teachers said, we're not going to recognize the teaching program because Trinity Western discriminates against gays and lesbians, and the Supreme Court of Canada said BC College of Teachers is wrong. And here you've got the Ontario Court of Appeal ignoring the law, ignoring the precedent, and basically making touchy-feely ruling that's based on culture and politics rather than defending our fundamental freedoms.
Now, I've been to Trinity Western. In fact, I was just there a couple months ago giving a speech on this very subject, and it's the most friendly, welcoming university you could imagine. I think the people who go there are obviously self-selected. They want a Christian environment. By the way, there are gay students there as well who have written publicly about their experiences as students there. They say it is a wonderful, nurturing, sharing community. They're proud gay graduates of Trinity Western. They wouldn't go there if they didn't want to be in a Christian environment. So to call Trinity Western anti-gay is simply not true. I think that what this Court of Appeal has done is said you cannot have, it's not even a pro-gay ruling. I'd call it an anti-Christian ruling, and they don't care who knows about it. But to your point, John, 15 years ago, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled, if I'm not mistaken, unanimously in favor of Trinity Western. 8-1, thank you. Yep. 8-1 for Trinity Western. Identical fact pattern, except for instead of about their law school, it was about their teachers' college. And yet, as you point out, this 3-person Court of Appeal in Ontario said, we don't care, we're just changing things because you got to get hip to the times. I'm worried that when this goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, our Supreme Court will say, yeah, you know what, we're much more fashionable than we were in 2001. We're going to be against Christians now too, because, you know, it's our pride moment. It's our gay pride moment. I think that they are going to throw out the law because it's too fashionable to hold with precedent.
Well, let's not make predictions. But it's certainly risky. I mean, the Supreme Court of Canada does reverse itself on a regular basis. They don't always follow their own precedent. So if this goes further to the Supreme Court of Canada, which it probably will, we've got to fight hard to put forward the best and the strongest arguments and hope that the court recognizes that the whole point of the charter is supposed to apply to government. Government has to treat everybody equally. Private organizations, whether it's a charity, ethnic group, political group, cultural group, sports group, recreation group, private organizations are entitled to discriminate. And in a free society, they do discriminate against people who disagree with the group's beliefs or goals or rules or practices. And if you force the charter to apply to private associations like Trinity Western University, it really destroys our free society.
You know, there is no doubt in my mind that if this was any other group that had a university, if it was a Sharia school, that this court wouldn't dare say you cannot have a Muslim school, a themed school. They wouldn't dare. But Christians are the only group that they would dare. I skimmed the ruling. It just came out. I haven't had a chance to read it slowly and carefully. But in it, these judges unanimously say that it is a privilege for, and not a right, for Christian grads to be able to be accredited, and that the government doesn't have to treat them openly. I mean, I'm not quoting verbatim here, but the government is the center of life, and a Christian-themed law school has to sort of say, please, master, may we graduate law students. It's an inversion of making opposite of where our rights reside. This ruling implies that rights and powers reside with the government, who may give or take to interest groups at their pleasure, as opposed to the rights reside with us as individual citizens, and the government must explain itself most carefully if they seek to infringe that. I find this very dark and very ominous, and I'm pessimistic. I hear what you're saying. It's not over till it's over, but this is a terrible ruling.
This is a dark day for freedom. It's very sad. Credit goes to the many interveners, including the Justice Center and including Trinity Western, for fighting the battle. Judges are sometimes they are completely captive to culture and political correctness, and in this ruling, certainly they've lost sight of their responsibility to uphold fundamental freedoms.
Yeah. Well, I'm depressed about it. Just last week, we had you on and we sought to raise $5,000, and we have been raising funds. I sent an email out. I hope to send you that $5,000 check as soon as this week or next week. For people who haven't contributed yet, the website is therealbigots.com, because the irony here is the bigots are not at Trinity Western. I've visited them. They're some of the most warm and welcoming and tolerant people you'll ever meet. The real bigots here are law society benchers, and I hate to say it, judges who allow these law society benchers to brazenly discriminate against Christians in a way they would never permit against Jews or Muslims or even gays themselves. Folks, let's chip it. John, let me ask you, are you going to continue to intervene all the way up to the Supreme Court? I think the answer is yes. I hope the answer is yes.
Well, we would like to we would like to go further with this. Most of the work's already been done, right? Because we've now gone through 2 levels of court proceedings in 3 provinces. So essentially, we've done 6 hearings. There's only 1 left, so most of it's been completed. But it would be our intention to take it further.
All right. Well, we'll be with you the whole way. We started collecting money last week for you. We were hoping to have good news today. The bad news, though, makes it even more important that you're there fighting. John, we're with you. Expect a check from us.
Thank you.
Next week, I would imagine we'll be able to pull it all together. Folks, if you haven't chipped in yet, please go to therealbigots.com. We had a little campaign goal of $5,000. And I know that makes a difference because you guys have costs, whether it's airfare, document filing, you have staff salaries. Every little bit helps. $5,000, that's going to help.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, chip in. John, keep up the fight. I'm upset by this, and I can't help but think that these judges put politics first. I do not want to live in a country where Christians are fair game for discrimination just because they're unfashionable in the eyes of legal elites. I'm counting on you and the other lawyers who are fighting for freedom, and I'm counting on the 9 judges of the Supreme Court to do the right thing. I wish I were more confident. You're our best hope, John.
Thanks, Ezra, for having me on your show.
All right.
And thanks to all the supporters for the support.
Thanks, John. We'll be there with you.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.